So, just a quick word about today's sermon. It's a sermon I actually preached several years ago, and a longtime member of the congregation asked if I would revisit it, especially in the light of the nature of the country that we're living in right now. They thought that perhaps some of my dad's thoughts could be helpful for us. The sermon, Things My Father Taught Me. I remember that moment in mid-October of 2011 when I closed the door of my father's condominium for the very last time. Dad had died 3 weeks ago. The rooms were empty now, emptied of memories, emptied of photo albums, photos that changed through the time, beginning with black and white to Kodak color to digital printouts on demand. The rooms were empty now, emptied of the family china that his mother had chosen well over a century prior. Emptied of that large glass china cabinet that none of the kids had room for, auctioned off to some stranger for $75. The rooms were empty, emptied of the flat screen TV on which he watched his John Wayne westerns. Emptied of the bed in which my father died 3 weeks prior. Everything is impermanent, the wise ones tell us. Change is our constant companion, they say. But my dad's life and death taught me it's possible to thrive while everything keeps changing, discovering delight in the midst of it. Let me introduce Dad to you. Hey, Dad. His name is George Frank Kutzmark, born in 1928 into a Polish immigrant family in the Elliott section of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Like most of us, my dad lived through a myriad of changing identities as he grew from childhood through his elder years. First, he was a longed-for, beloved baby, the only child of Francis and Frank Kutzmark. Then he was Georgie, the blonde-haired tyke who played in his backyard with his little dog, Lucky. He was a choir boy at St. Martin's Elementary School. That outfit was borrowed, and you'll hear why soon. My dad was also a skinny basketball star at Langley High School and a fearless football player who, with his best friend, Ed Hurley, once hung a kid upside down by his ankles out a second-story window just because they could. That's Dad. He was a valedictorian of his senior class, and that jacket and tie were borrowed as well. He then was a proud member of the 71st Signal Service Battalion, Far East Command, a code breaker in post-World War II Japan. Thanks to the GI Bill and its white privilege, he was the first person in his extended family to go to college and went on to earn an MBA from the University of Pittsburgh. He was fiancé to Mary Joanne Jacobs, a sparkling beauty from the better side of town. My dad was husband, industrial engineer, executive vice president of a major steel company. My dad was father, failed fisherman. I always caught more fish than he did. He was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and an international traveler whose adventures included Vienna, Berlin, and his ancestral towns of Wilczyn and Poznan in Poland. My dad was a cancer survivor devoted caregiver to his wife of 57 years as she was dying. He was proud Grandpa K to his only grandson, John Copernicus Easterday. On September 27th, 2011, he experienced his final change, passing forever into the mysteries of death. Shortly before he made that crossing, I asked Dad how he had managed to live so fully and remain so centered through so many shifts over so many years. As one who tends to be buffeted by change, I wanted to know his secret for thriving. Dad shared with me 4 things he believed were key to staying balanced and grounded within impermanence, while discovering delight in the midst of it. First, we must understand where we come from. My dad said, you can't keep your center, you can't hold on to your balance if you don't understand your roots. Who we are and the choices we make grow out of where we come from. We need to understand how our past has shaped the way we approach the present. My dad said, with better self-awareness, we face the changing future on firmer footing. Take my dad. He was proudly a product of his time, part of the greatest generation. He was born July 1st, 1928. And his self-perception and his worldviews were shaped first by the Great Depression that shook the nation a year after he was born, and then by World War II. He was 13 years old when the attack on Pearl Harbor brought the U.S. into the war. But it goes so much deeper than that. My dad's father had only a 6th grade education, thrown out into the street by his stepmother after his own father died. My dad's father, my grandpa Frank, lived as a kid for months in abandoned buildings and railroad cars. Later, my dad grew up watching his father, a World War I veteran, doing back-breaking labor at the McKinney Hinge plant in Pittsburgh. Dad saw hardworking and hard-drinking relatives struggling to survive. He came of age steeped in the scarcity and the sacrifice of those times, seasoned by the combative quality of a world at war. Also, the West End of Pittsburgh, where he grew up, had a roughness about it, its people and its living. Pittsburgh herself, with its darkened skies, darkened and polluted by the smoke of her mills, was a gritty, dirty steel town. Tough struggle was a fact of life for my dad and his family. Because of this, his father pushed him, and I mean pushed him hard, to get educated, to lift himself up, and to become a success, a financial success. All of these factors, combined with white privilege, formed in my dad a worldview that made him strong, steely, driven, demanding, purposeful, frequently harsh, conservative, competitive, quick to assess, swift to judge, racist, not reluctant to voice those opinions, and with his 2 sons, not averse to using the flat of his hand or the force of his fist to make a point. But his early years also shaped him into a man who was so generous, kind, ready to sacrifice for others, fun-loving, good, intelligent, astute, politically aware, principled, practical, a member of Mensa, a leader, listener, learner, and someone incredibly loyal to friends and family. My dad would say that to thrive amidst a changing world, not unlike the world we face today, we need to know why we came to be who we are today and how that helps us and hinders us as we move toward that unknown future. But even as we come to understand the impact of the past, we need to be strongly rooted in the reality of the present. My dad believed that family provided that essential foundation, either family of origin or, for many of us, family of choice. For my dad, family is a key to thriving during change. Dad grew up living in the same home as his grandmother, Catherine, who spoke only Polish, amidst great-grandparents, aunts and uncles, and cousins who were all connected. It was a time when families stayed together in the same neighborhood. They ate the same sauerkraut and pierogies. And although they didn't necessarily like each other a lot of the time, they looked out for each other all of the time. This family focus remained as my dad raised his own family. Our house was filled with great aunts and uncles, grandmothers and grandfathers. Even if my dad didn't see eye to eye with them, which he didn't most of the time, they were family in his eyes, and it was important for them to be together. This commitment to family was amplified in his relationship with his kids. Although outspokenly proud of each one of us, not one of us is the child he expected or might have chosen. All of us took some getting used to. Although he could at times be fierce in his expectations of us, he was equally fierce in his support for us. When my older brother went through a life-threatening time, Dad was always there, always doing whatever was needed to keep my brother alive. When any one of us was short of cash, some would be quickly offered with no strings attached. Plentiful, too, were phone calls filled with advice and good guidance and answers to all the questions we asked him. But the greatest example of what family meant to Dad was seen in his unfailing care of my mom in her final years. When Alzheimer's disease, aphasia from stroke, and multiple cancers made a hospice room the only option, Dad was there every day, talking with her, singing with her, watching TV with her, doing crafts with her, feeding her, transferring her from bed to wheelchair to toilet. He wiped her and washed her and wept with her. Watching him, I learned what devotion means. I will forever respect him for how he treated Mom. He taught me love through watching his example. Dad proved that some of us can thrive when we remain rooted in the good and the struggle that family brings, family of origin or family of choice. But my dad believed we must be careful not to root ourselves so strongly that we lose our own ability to change. That's the third thing that my dad came to believe. He realized that he needed to cultivate his capacity to change. When I was younger, Dad was like a strong, unchanging marble monolith. But as he aged, his ever-present practicality helped him realize that the way to find peace in his life was to let go of the way he wanted things to be. He learned to soften his expectations, allowing himself to reshape his thinking. He realized that there were great things to be found here as they are, with people as they are. He could be more fully in his skin if he allowed others to be in theirs. His expectations of his children relaxed. His relationships with friends took on a quality of acceptance. His social and religious views began to broaden. His political perspective began shifting a wee bit more to the left. He actually had been thinking about maybe voting for Barack Obama. And God, I wish I could have seen him do that before he died, to see my dad actually vote for a Democrat. Dad also believed that good luck or bad luck does not always determine the extent to which we embrace our life. This, according to my dad, was the fourth and final key to thriving when everything else keeps changing. Savor the gift of life, no matter what it looks like. Dad believed that no matter what the situation, he could find a way to fully live the life we've been given, no matter how compromised it might be. He knew that the secret of health for both body and mind is not to mourn the past, nor worry about the future, but to live the present moment wisely, earnestly, and enthusiastically. After my mom died in 2008, he could have rolled over and his life just died as well. But that never crossed his mind. At age 80, he packed up his home and moved into a vibrant senior living community. Soon, he was serving on committees, arguing with the management about how they should negotiate with the electric company for better utility rates, and advising the director of food and beverages as to which vendors had the best bargains. In short, he was trying to run the place. He loved it, and his neighbors loved him. Dad was living, truly living. And Dad was dying. He battled a rare blood disease for 6 years, kept alive through experimental medication and over 70 blood transfusions. Dad just wanted to live longer. He wanted to live because he was happy. He wanted to live to see his grandson, John, grow a bit older. Dad and John shared this magical bond with each other. He wanted to live because when he least expected it, he found a special friend, a soulmate, with whom he could spar intellectually, travel, ride in a biplane, debate politics, Democrat to Republican, play Scrabble, and get beaten by her shooting pool. This loving partner was named Dottie Dart, and she was a true gift to my dad. Dottie brought him such joy for the 2 years that they shared together. And in his last weeks, Dottie gave him a reason to grab that walker and keep moving to that next blood transfusion. The truth that my dad discovered: don't give up on life, because even when it is ebbing, it won't give up on you. When we least expect it, we just might find the soulmate who completes us. Or at the very least, we might find moments of miracle, bits of beauty, people and things that stir us and enliven us and continue to transform us. We can thrive while our own health is fading. We can live while we are dying. My dad modeled that. Even while platelets dripped into his veins in a last-ditch effort to keep him alive for a few more days, he kept his mind nimble, joked with the nurses, and held the hand of his beloved. The last time I saw my dad was the weekend before he died. He was sitting in the living room watching a John Wayne Western on his flat screen TV. John Wayne is great, he declared. Westerns, I could watch them forever. Dad, I wish you could watch them for forever. I gathered my overnight bag and moved towards the door to leave. My dad suddenly exclaimed, "I'm going to order a blue sweater from LL Bean. Dottie told me I look good in blue. She said that blue makes my eyes sparkle." Death may have been waiting, but Dad was still so full of life. George Frank Kutzmark was still thriving while everything was changing and discovering delight in the midst of it all. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.